Alright guys, I feel like an absolute idiot. I just filmed a 9-minute long video and the whole time my mic was in the way. However, I'm gonna upload it anyways. This is my extremely basic setup right here, but anyways, sorry about that. Hey, what's going on guys? It's Kyle here, and I just want to talk a little bit about what I'm up to right now and why I just sold 2 of my properties. Actually, technically I sold for 5 properties, 2 different transactions. So this was probably a month or 2 ago. I sold one of my duplexes that was located in St. Louis. This was a property that I purchased a long time ago. I think it was back in maybe 2016, somewhere in there. And I purchased it for $40,000. I put in about $27,000, rented it out for I think it was $715 on one side, $725 on the other side, and I held it until 2020, and I just sold it, a couple months ago. So I sold that building for $105,000, and all said and done, I netted $99,352 after all the closing costs and so forth. Because I did not have a mortgage on that property. Now, technically I did owe money on the property. I have used some different private loans, like more or less think of it like a blanket loan. And then I use it towards different properties here and there. So although there wasn't actually a bank mortgage tied to the property, I did have some debt assigned to that property. But anyways, I did free up about $99,000 from selling that property. And then just about, I don't know, 4 weeks ago or so, I sold 4 of my single family houses. Now these were the 4 single families that got me started in real estate, or I should say 2 of them did. They all sat on the same street. I bought 2 of them back in 2012, and I purchased another one maybe a couple years later, and then I purchased the last one probably within a year ago or maybe less. I bought all those houses for ridiculously cheap. The first 2 were like $5,000 a piece. The second one was like $8,600 a piece or something like, or $8,600 for that one. And then the one down on the end, I paid a little bit more. I paid about $14,000 for it. I believe that I think it was $14,000. If it wasn't $14,000, I will throw the number up on the screen. However, if you remember, it was the story where I offered them, I think it was $14,000. They're asking $22,000. They said absolutely not. But a couple months later, they got back to me and said, "Hey, if you're still interested, we will sell it." So I believe it was $14,000 I paid for that one and put some money into it. So again, all of those did not have mortgages as well. Those were all cash purchases. Again, I had some like a blanket loan that I was using more of like a credit line towards these properties as I was fixing them up. So technically there was some debt associated with them. However, there was no bank mortgage tied to it. So that freed up about $79,000 after prorations and so forth. So moving that money into the next property is what the plan is. So currently, if you've been watching my channel, I have a 12 unit under contract. So the way I have that structured, I'll probably use about $70,000 towards the purchase of that property. The seller's going to pay some of the closing costs, and I'm paying I think $345,000 for it, and then they are covering $5,000 of the closing costs. So I'm guesstimating I'll need about 70 grand for that. And of course, I'll want to keep some in reserves to fix things that will come up. When you purchase a new property, most of the time you're always going to find something that needs fixed. So I will be allotting probably $80,000 towards that property. Now I'm looking at a couple other properties right now, 2 in particular. So both of these are mobile home parks, which parks are really what I'm trying to focus on. And the story behind these 2 parks is they're both ones, they're off market. I contacted the sellers and just asked them if they'd be interested in selling. Funny thing is, these were properties that I have not been marketing more than 2 months. So I just made a phone call to one of the parks. Actually, I knew a banker who knew the owner. And the banker's like, hey, there's no way this lady's gonna sell. She's pretty old, but she's really smart and sharp for her age. So she has no intentions of selling. However, I had a couple conversations with her. I sat down and talked to her. You may have seen that video. And she ended up agreeing to sell to me. We have not, ironed out the details yet. So, is there a chance that it won't go through? Absolutely. I would say, let's throw like, I'm 45% sure that I'm gonna close on it. So I don't like to be too optimistic because real estate is just like this. One day you're under contract and everything's going smooth. The next day, everything falls apart. So I've learned just to kind of, think that, things aren't going to ever close. Sorry, my AC was about to kick on. But and then the second property, it's another park located probably an hour away from where I'm located. And this was a property I made some cold calls, and I actually got in touch with the guy who manages the park. He owns a car dealership and he manages it for two brothers who are pretty well off. One's a dentist and one's an attorney. And these brothers more or less own it as a passive investment. So, I called them, said, hey, would you be interested in selling? They're like, yes, we would. Now, the manager told me that they were willing to own or finance the property. So I was super excited. That means I don't need to go to the bank to get a loan. And after talking to the attorney, one of the owners, he said, we're not really interested in financing. However, I told him all about me and kind of my experience, and I presented him the offer of, what if you just finance part of it? What if I went to the bank? Let's say I'm paying $500,000 for the park. What if I went to the bank and loaned $300,000 for them? The park is worth $500,000. So I loaned $300,000 from the bank, and then the seller carries a second mortgage for the remaining $200,000. Well, the bank isn't going to require me to put any money down because there would be enough equity in the property, and the bank would have first position on the loan. So, the bank just needs to know that if I was to default, the bank would get the property and the property would have enough equity for them to be okay. So if the seller would agree to carry, $200,000 of the debt, then we should be able to get, make a deal with me essentially putting very little money down, maybe even none at all. So I'm actually using that same strategy for the first park I told you about, where the older woman owns it. I'm going to try to do the same thing where the bank is financing part and then the owner is financing part. So I'm not sure if that'll work out or not, but I will definitely let you guys know how that goes. The reason why the older woman who I approached first, so she actually had entertained the idea of financing the entire thing. However, it wasn't going to work out for me because, the park is probably only worth, $500,000 to $600,000. And, the bank requires 20% down. So if I go to the bank and get a loan on a $500,000 park, I'm going to need to fork out $100,000 for the down payment. The problem is she owes like $150,000 on the park. So if she was to own or finance it, she would want her debt paid off first. So that means I'd have to fork out $150K to pay off her debt, and then I'd start making payments to her. Well, cash is very valuable to me right now, so it would be smarter for me to just go get bank financing. However, if I can structure the same type of deal I just mentioned a minute ago, to where, hey, I go to the bank and say, you guys loan me half the purchase price, loan me $300,000, and then she carries, $200,000. I'm able to pay off her debt and then start making payments to her. So I'm just, working on a couple different strategies there. The 12 unit is pretty much 100%. We're going to close on it the end of August. So keep you guys updated on that. And then these parks, who knows? Let's give it like 30 or 40% chance. So that's kind of what I'm up to right now. If you guys have any questions, comment below. I don't always see them, but I'm happy to try to answer any questions. So appreciate you guys. Thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you in the next one.